And the Chief Justice, Torkornoo, has filed an interlocutory injunction at the Supreme Court seeking to halt the work of the 5-member committee established by President Mahama to inquire into the 3 petitions against her removal from office. In a suit filed on May 21 and cited by 3 News, Justice Torkornoo is praying the court for an order to restrain the committee from taking any action in connection with the prima facie case determined against her. She also wants the court to restrain Justice Court Puaman and Justice Samuel Kwame Edubuesiedu from participating in proceedings of the committee established to inquire into petitions against her. My colleague Martin is standing by to take us through the injunction filed by the Chief Justice herself. Martin.
Certainly. Now, it looks as though the Chief Justice now is taking the issues personally. So these are the respondents to the suit filed by the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, I should say. The respondents are the current Attorney General, Justice Gabriel Puamang, Justice Samuel Adibbu-Asiedu, Daniel Yaldomlevo, Major Flora Bazwanura Dalugo, and Professor James Sefa Jifa. Now, it's important we get you to see these respondents because of the specifics that the Chief Justice is seeking. First, she says she's praying the Supreme Court to give an order restraining the committee set up by the President inquiring into the 3 petitions that have been filed against her. And she's specifically asking that these respondents, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, 5th, and 6th defendants, from proceeding with the inquiry or carrying themselves as part of the committee, and asking that action be taken. They should not take any action in connection with the determination of a purported prima facie case made against the complainant. Now, so I mentioned 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Who are the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th respondents? They are Justice Gabriel Puamang, Justice Adibbu-Asiedu, Yaldomlevo, Major Flora Dalugo, and Professor James Sefa Jifa. So these are the 4 individuals the Chief Justice is asking that they be taken off or be restrained from acting on the orders of the President as part of the committee set up to look into the petitions that have been filed against her. Again, she's asking for an order restraining the 2nd and 3rd specifically from presiding over or participating in the proceedings of the committee set up by the President. And finally, she's asking for an order suspending the operations of the warrant for suspension of the Chief Justice purportedly issued by the President under Article 146(10) of the Constitution until the hearing and final determination of the instant action, meaning that she's currently on suspension, but she's asking that the order give a directive so that that suspension given by the President constitutionally be suspended. So it's interesting. You would recall that it was a current member of Parliament who actually took the suspension to be suspended case to the court. But the Chief Justice currently is taking the issue into her own hands and going to court herself. Her lawyer is former Attorney General under the just exited MPP government, and he is representing the Chief Justice in court. So let's go to the phone lines now and try and get some legal understanding of all of these issues. Joining us now is the former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kweku Ansah Asare. Mr. Kweku Ansah Asare, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and good evening.
Thank you. Good evening to you as well. What are your initial thoughts on the fact that many people sought to seek the courts, get redress for the Chief Justice, but this time around she's taken the mantle and has filed to the court herself seeking the Supreme Court to suspend the current committee and prevent them from acting or carrying out the orders of the President?
Well, thank you. I would have wished that we hadn't taken this approach at all, because at the end of the day, if the petitions fail, to have to resume and work with the executive. So I would have thought that she will not take this course at all, but she's taking the course, and therefore let's wait and see how it all plays out.
Can you clarify the point you make that if the 3 petitions that have been filed against her, on the back of which we are having all these legal back and forth, is not does not go through, which will mean that now she will be reinstated as Chief Justice, and you are saying that if that happens, she cannot work with the executive? Is that it?
That's the point I'm making. You know that those positions she has taken, you know, will sort of now, you know, an otherwise cordial, you know, relationship, you know, existing between the office of the Chief Justice and the office of the Presidency. Given the fact that the Chief Justice is the head of the judiciary and, you know, the chief person to uphold, you know, the Constitution, I think that it's a wrong tactical move on the part of leadership, you know, to herself initiate an action in the Supreme Court, you know, to halt the CJ removal process. I think it's not in good taste.
And then what happens to the earlier cases that were filed in line with the current subject? What happens to those cases now?
Well, those actions were not filed by the Chief Justice herself. They were brought by some lawyers, you know, who felt that they should try to test the correctness of the CJ removal process, you know, the Supreme Court. So no problem with that. The point is that this time around, it is the Chief Justice herself, you know, who has taken the mantle to halt, you know, an otherwise constitutionally laid down process. And you know, my view is that she has erred, you know, to put it mildly.
Right. And maybe finally, before we let you go, would you have advised, if probably your advice was sought by the Chief Justice, that she waited for all of these issues to be settled before maybe thinking of any legal action herself?
Well, we always say that God's time is the best. So she was timing, and she felt that now is the time for her, you know, to act by herself. She's gone in for a lawyer, and then my good friend, the former Attorney General, Dr. Dame, is also seeking to represent, you know, her. So let's see how all of these, you know, play out. But the point I'm making is that I do not see, you know, how her leadership can continue in the, you know, to hold herself out as Chief Justice when she has initiated an action against the executive arm. You see, under the framework of separation of powers, from time to time there must be cooperation. Now, if you know you sue and you know the cultural, you know, traits of bringing an action against a fellow Ghanaian, when you go to the court, they will not even look at each other and say, that is what is going to happen. That's the point I'm making.
Okay. Mr. Gwekwasari, thank you for your time as always. He is the former director of the Ghana School of Law, and clearly, as we've indicated, the Chief Justice has gone to court. Her lawyer is the former Attorney General Godfrey Dame. It's a very fluid situational issue. We'll keep very close tabs on it and keep you posted subsequently. Back to you, Portia.
Thank you, Martin. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has dismissed 2 more injunction suits seeking to restrain the work of the Committee of Inquiry probing petitions for the removal of the suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. The suits filed by civil society group, that's the Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral Systems, and a private citizen, Kofi Atakorti, were found to be unmeritorious. A report by Lord Idwasari.
The Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral Systems named the Attorney General, Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo, and Justice Gabriel Pamang as defendants in the suits challenging the processes which led to the dissemination of a prima facie case against the suspended CJ. Lawyers for the civil society group led by Jacob Akwa argue that the the president erred in not providing the prima facie determination to Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo before issuing her suspension. He therefore prayed the court to injunct the work of the committee of inquiry probing her matter pending the hearing of their substantive case. The civil society group are seeking an interpretation of Article 1468, which stipulates that the hearings of the committees should not be in the public domain. They also argue that documents which ought to be classified had been circulating on social media. But Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai urged the court to dismiss the application, citing the claims by the plaintiff as frivolous. Ruling on the matter, the 5-member panel of justices by a majority decision of 4-1 with Justice Yao Asare Dakun dissenting dismissed the injunction after noting that it was without merit. The plaintiff in the matter, Dr. James Bonfrey, reacted after the court's decision.
Well, they have spoken. I will go into conclave with my lawyers and we will advise ourselves. Right. Appropriately.
Even before he could move his injunction motion, lawyer for the second plaintiff, private citizen Theodore Ataporte, the bench advised him and brought to his notice that 2 weeks ago, a similar application seeking the same reliefs, and indeed earlier today, the court had also dismissed a similar injunction, and so advised them to wait until the full reason of the court is out and then he files a suit. Nonetheless, the court advised them or urged them to continue to move his motion. The argument of Joseph Efifa was that the process is being carried out to remove the Chief Justice from the provisions of the Constitution required that non-judicial service members should be guided by guideline in the Constitution, which was absent, and so he was urging the court to injunct the processes and then restrain the committee from further going on with their work. After his arguments, the Supreme Court dismissed his injunction application by a 4 majority with Justice Yao Asare Dakun dissenting. The full reason of the court will be made available on May 29. Until then, the work of the committee remains cut out in the investigation of the removal of Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo.
And we are staying on the court because this particular issue, right from its inception, has had 3 different suits against the order of the president asking the Chief Justice to go on suspension while investigations into the case carries on. So let's look at the individuals and the arguments they made in court justifying why they wanted the Chief Justice to be reinstated or to reverse the order of the president. The first to actually take the issue to court was Vincent Koesifo, a member of parliament for Old Tafo, and he was making the argument that the president violated Article 146 of the Constitution by consulting the Council of State before notifying the Chief Justice to get her response. So that's one of the cases that is in court. The second person to take the Chief Justice's issue to court is Ebenezer Osei-Wusu, who is arguing that the president, again, similar to that of Vincent Koesifo, violated Article 146 of the Constitution by consulting the Council of State, again, before allowing the Chief Justice, Madam Gertrude Torkornoo, to respond, which everybody believes is a simple law of natural justice. And the third person to also take the issue to court is Theodore Kofi Atta-Quote, who argues that the presidential discretion must conform to a published regulation. And this particular point he makes has been heavily disputed by the Deputy Attorney General. And then also he makes a point that the absence of such a regulation renders the process illegal. So it looks as though we are in for the long haul because the Chief Justice herself, like we indicated earlier, has decided to take up the mantle and fight the case herself. So it's a very fluid situation. We'll keep very close eyes on it and subsequently we'll update you. On Ghana Tonight later today at 10 p.m. with Alfredo Kanse, they will be dissecting and digging deeper into the injunction that has been filed by the Chief Justice, Madam Gertrude Torkornoo, and give you the 16 reliefs that she is seeking. So you do want to make a date with Alfred and the team.